Today I'm going to talk to you about assembling a standard teak garden bench. So, first thing to consider is that you get teak benches, eucalyptus wood benches, mango wood benches. We specialise in teak benches. They come with traditional mortise and tenon joints and they're held together using wooden dowels. So for the next kind of 10-15 minutes I'm going to talk you through how one needs to build a bench, but also kind of pitfalls and things to consider while one's building one. Okay, so once you've decided where you're going to place your bench, you need to get it unwrapped and ready to go. I've got with me a selection of tools that I'd recommend anyone considering having while they're building a bench. Mallet, hammer, piece of sandpaper, a knife, a pair of scissors will do, cloth and a drill or also a screwdriver. So first and foremost, you need to get the bench unwrapped and ready to go. If you are outside, the best thing to consider would be to ensure that the bottom of the cardboard box is on the bottom. So if you're on wet grass or someone eating concrete, that it doesn't affect or damage the timber of the wood. Just get this open. So once the top part is done, you can open and expose the bench itself. You'll probably find in most decent benches or boxes with containing benches that they're going to have some kind of drying agent. This is nothing to worry about. It's nothing to use in the assembly of the bench. It's purely there to use. It's purely there that the shipping lines use to keep the benches dry while they're in transit. So then, the best thing to do is go about unwrapping the bench and probably using the top part of the carcass to put and store all the other things. Again, teak and most woods are quite a forgiving material, but do just make sure that you don't nick the wood or do anything that you don't want to do with regards to damaging the teak or the eucalyptus or mango wood during the assembly. Key thing, most benches will have some form of instructions, some kind of doweling or Allen keys, and then perhaps some screws in order to help and assist assembly. Hopefully I won't need the instructions too much during the next few minutes. So the next part, or the next thing to consider, is making sure you've got all your pieces ready and you're not short on anything. If so, make sure you give the manufacturer or distributor a call as soon as possible to make sure they can pop something in the post for you. Having checked all this through earlier, I can tell that everything is here ready to go. Okay? So, once you're ready and everything has been unwrapped, you're ready to begin the assembly process. So what I tend to do is get each piece out one by one and line them up somewhere so that you know where they are and you can get to them as and when you need. It might also be worth considering maintaining and still keeping the bottom of the cardboard base. You can then use this, should you want, to act as the base while you're assembling the bench. Let's get these out of the way. So, for the main part, what we tend to do here at gardenbenches.com is we will put one of the arms flat down on the side first and foremost. We use traditional mortise and tenon joints as I touched on before. Essentially, you've got the tenon joint here, which acts as the male part, and the mortise, which acts as the female part. Any good reputable retailer of benches will possibly have little identification marks here and here, as well as on other areas of the bench, to allow you to marry up parts to make sure that no mistakes are made during the assembly. So what we tend to do is attach the mortise and tenon joints loosely to start with. Just popping on the back bit. as you can see. They are slotted in, and don't forget to put the seat base in, as that's probably, well, as you will know, the most important part. Just going to slide this to the side so you can get a bit of a better look. Okay, again, you might need some gentle tapping and persuasion. To make sure that you get the joints in together as firm as possible. The final part of the initial erection of the bench comes with putting the top part on. And again, assuming the other parts have been slotted together, this should go together fairly seamlessly. Again, hammer or mallet, and just, as you would probably want to see. Bit of persuasion, and you can see almost the outer shell is ready for doweling. So once the shell has been put together, it's time to begin the doweling process. So for this, I tend to use the hammer, and I would always recommend starting from the bottom up. The dowels are cylindrical shaped pieces of wood that they go in and they fuse together the mortise and the tenon joint. Got a better indication here, so just making sure the joint's nice and flush, as you can see there. Down. Once the bottom part of the dowels have been put in place, the reason I start at the bottom is because vibrations, like you may have experienced earlier in the picture, is that I would now turn the bench upside down, and the top parts, which may have popped out a little bit, can then be put back in and dowel to complete the bench. Again, just trying to keep it on the cardboard. And then just easing the dowels into place. Once that's done, you just repeat what you were doing before. These are a much stronger joint than you find with Allen keys that a lot of the high street sheds tend to sell. You know, there can be cheap metal that's used in the manufacture of those, and over time they can cause problems with your joints combined with the wood, maybe leading to some kind of rotting. That's why we always recommend using traditional dowels with the mortise and tenon. Last one just going in. So basically, the structure of your bench is now complete, and you should be able to sit on this no problems. I'm going to put this down, ready to sit on, and then just finish up. So as you can see, the bench now ready to use. However, some companies tend to provide some screws here. These screws can be used Some people do, some people don't. It allows you to fuse basically the seat base to the arms for a bit of extra stability. So here we are, just about to insert, if I can pick it up again, the screws to basically fuse the seat base timber to the arms. Screwdriver will do it, however, in the interest of trying to get this done as quickly as possible for you, I'm just going to use the drill. So that really completes basically the construction of your teak garden bench. Just a couple of things to consider. Obviously wood, teak, mahogany, eucalyptus wood, they're all, you know, a natural product, so you're going to get disfigurations, discolourments in the wood. Things to consider are dowels, for example. These went together perfectly, however sometimes dowels can be a couple of mil too thick or too long. If so, you might need to just trim them back with your knife or your scissors. If that's the case and they are just popping out a little bit, I'd suggest just trimming either side, picking off, and then maybe using a bit of light sandpaper just to make sure that there's no excess on the sides that could cut or snag on clothing or anything. Another thing to consider is, as we showed you, the drying agent that's used in shipping. A lot of woods, you know, coming from the Far East and Asia, issues relating to those can be, you know, if it is a particularly damp part of the world, in the rainforest for example, and they're put straight on a container vessel, then you might find a certain degree of mould or dust or cobwebs on a bench when it arrives. It's nothing to worry about. It's purely get yourself a damp cloth, wipe down any excess. There's nothing harmful there, nothing that you wouldn't find in and around the home, and then basically the bench will be ready to put in situ in your garden, ready for hopefully the sunshine to go.